Ask me anything about politics. So if you got any questions about politics, just let me know in the chat and I will do my best to give you a great answer. I know the politics can be really intimidating when you're first trying to learn about it, so I like to make myself available to answer all of your questions. And sometimes, you're not really sure where to go to get your questions about politics answered. You don't know who is an expert. You don't know if your friends are going to think you're a big old dum dum for asking certain things. I have been made to feel like a big old dum dum for not knowing things about politics in the past, and I did not care for the way that felt. So now I like to make myself available to people, and you don't got to worry about getting ridiculed here. I remember asking my college friends a question about politics once, and they did that thing where they looked at each other as if to say, "Did Jared really just ask us that dumb question?" And I did not care for that. So there's none of that here on this channel. There's only good faith answers to all of your good faith questions. Sometimes I get a little spicy. People are spicy to me, but I try my best just to be as nice as I possibly can. Yeah, because politics can be really intimidating. It can be like trying to learn a new language, where there's all these like three-letter agencies that maybe you don't know what they are, and sometimes we just refer to politicians by their last name. Like if you don't know who Patel or Hegseth or Rubio are, or Schumer, like it can be really difficult to try to parse all that out. There's a difference between the federal Senate and state Senate, and the federal Supreme Court and the state Supreme Court. And I didn't learn that until I was in my 30s, and so yeah, there's no such thing as a dumb question. And there's words that we just toss around like reconciliation and filibuster and continuing resolution and shit like that, and the Senate parliamentarian and crap like that. And if you don't know what that stuff is, then like where do you go? Like where do you turn? And it's not like there's just like that one thing that you don't know. It's like learning a whole new language where you need to know like a bunch of different things in order to parse what people are talking about. Lindsay Reed says, "Praying for Joe." That's very sweet of you, Lindsay. Yeah, prayers to him and his whole family. Sebi D, that is not a question or about politics. Welcome everybody to Ask Me Anything About Politics. If you got any questions about politics, just let me know in the chat, and I'll do my best to give you a great answer. I know that politics can be really intimidating when you're first trying to learn about it, so I like to make myself available to answer all of your questions here. And this isn't one of those shows where I bring people up who have different political opinions than me and I just yell at them for how stupid they are or anything like that. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care if you're further to the left than me or further to the right than me. I will answer all of your good faith questions. And hey, maybe you're somebody on the right and you're like, I want to know what this left wing ding dong thinks about X, Y, or Z. There's a problem with information bubbles in this country. There's a problem with the billionaires convincing us that different voters are your enemy, but that's not the case at all. The billionaires are the enemy. Michael Tolman says, "Do you think politics are cool?" Not necessarily. Tom says, "Were you aware that America is a federation of independent sovereign countries?" Sure, if you say so. Lindsay Reed says, "Noam has no clue about habeas corpus." I mean, that's their whole thing, is they either feign idiocy or they are idiots, or they feign that they haven't heard about something, or they haven't heard about something, and it's like it's wrong both ways, guys. Like it is your job to know things. So yeah, it is number one of many, many, many concerns. Taco Bell toilet seat, good to see you over on Twitch. It's the Rocketeer, good to see you as well. Taco Bell, there are no dumb questions, only dumb people. Yeah, some people are dumb, but I also try to be as empathetic as I possibly can. So I'm never going to tell somebody that, like, you have those political beliefs because you're an uninformed, uneducated idiot. Let's see here. James Madison said that the America is a federation of independent sovereign countries. Not me. Okay, sure. Yeah, whatever. Drag Mommy says, "Do you agree that the Supreme Court's decision to give Trump absolute immunity was the beginning?" I don't know if it was the beginning, but it was definitely the wrong thing to do. Whether or not that was the start of the end of our democracy is, I think it probably started earlier than that. I think an argument could be made that it was Citizens United. An argument could be made that it was, the Roberts Court in general. An argument could be made that it was the Reagan administration. An argument could be made that it was, the day that the Koch brothers were born. So yeah. let's see here. Taco Bell, that's me. I'm uninformed and educated. I've been reliably told. Well, Taco Bell toilet seat, if you want to know things, if you want to not be uninformed, if you want to learn about politics, then go ahead and ask away, man. That's what we're doing here. Let's see here. I don't think Trump is Hitler, so obviously. I mean, yeah, Hitler was good at talking. Clint Linker says, "Are you glad of the Supreme Court's decision to block Biden's attempt to use OSHA to require vaccinations for all workers?" Clint Linker, I'm going to be straight with you. I am unfamiliar with that decision. I don't recall it happening. That was a while ago. I believe that vaccines are a net positive by a mile, like it's not even close. I do not believe that we should have people who are vaccinated and concerned about their health have to worry about if the people that they're working for are going to get them, you know, sick in a way that could give them chronic illness or potentially death. Band says, "Are you taking guests?" I usually don't, Band, and in fact I can't because I'm realizing I'm using my computer as opposed to my phone, so I need to figure out how to actually hear you guys because I tried a little while ago. Let's see here. Devin says, "TikTok is the lowest forum you can use for a political debate." Well, thank goodness I don't do debates then. I'm just here to answer people's questions about politics. Tom says, "Were you aware that the federal income tax enabled the ruling class to marginalize the people?" Tom, the mechanisms by which the ruling class have been able to weaponize both the information environment and the government in order to hurt marginalized people, the poor, and the working class is multitudinous. The fact of the matter is that taxes was originally meant as a way to redistribute the wealth from the wealthy to the poor. Now, the fact that that got used by other people to hurt the poor does not mean that taxes are bad. I kind of felt like that's where you were going, so I thought I might as well nip that in the bud. Clint Linker says, "Aren't you just a little bit glad that Trump doesn't currently have the right to require vaccination?" I mean, Clint Linker, we should be organizing our government in a way that no matter who is in power, it doesn't matter what powers and rights that they have. So, yeah, do I think that the filibuster should go away? Absolutely. Am I glad that the filibuster exists today because the Republicans have control of Congress and the White House? Absolutely. But that has nothing to do with whether or not the filibuster is good. It has to do with the fact that Republicans and Donald Trump are fucking psychotic. And I mean Republican politicians and Republican talking heads like Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk. I do not mean Republican voters. I have nothing negative to say about the 99%. All right. LJF says the Democratic Party is fading fast. I don't think that's true. LJF, also, that's not a question. If you don't ask questions, you get booted. I don't care if you have different opinions than me, but actually ask a question, be part of the conversation. Justin Jewel Richens says, "Your opinion means nothing." Yeah, well, that's why I'm not here to talk about opinions. I'm here to talk about politics. Talon Richardson says, "What do you think about Zuckerberg lobbying to ban TikTok?" Zuckerberg is a real piece of shit. He's always positioned himself as this kind of like, "Oh gosh, golly, I'm just a coder who's trying to make a fun thing for everybody to use, and we can connect and be better for society." But if you read that book from the Facebook whistleblower, it's clear that this dude is just like a fucking power hungry plutocrat who wants to fucking be our billionaire Lord King. You don't build a fucking $1 billion doomsday bunker in Hawaii if you actually give a shit about the 99%. So yeah, as far as like him lobbying to ban TikTok, yeah, of course, he will do any dirty trick necessary to maintain his information monopoly. His fucking hegemony over the information space and social media sphere. That guy can fucking go fuck himself. Lucas says, "Opinions on Bernie Sanders." I like Bernie Sanders. Justin Jor Richin says, "Man, you're even jealous of Zuckerberg." That's not a question, Justin, and also it's not accurate. I'm not jealous of Mark Zuckerberg. I would much rather be, a human being. Hudson Biram says, "Who is the best president in terms of getting stuff done?" I don't know. If we're talking about all all of American history. Probably FDR, because he had more than 2 terms to actually get things done. The New Deal was pretty transformative as far as like getting things done in America. The Biden administration was pretty productive. So, even though I wouldn't say that it was as productive as FDR's administration, I do think that he deserves flowers for all the incredible and positive things that he got done when he was in office. But also, like, I'm not a history major. My specialty is much more politics of the now and in the recent history, like going back to Reagan. So yeah, just shooting for a hip, I might say FDR then. Milo says, LOL, and this is where you are a fraud. That's not a question, Milos. If you don't ask questions, I'll boot you. I don't care if you have different opinions than me or if you want to call me a cuck, just ask a question. Epic Lobster Man says, have you seen gas prices? $2.76 here. Epic Lobster Man, it seems as though the Trump administration has made a deal to increase production with oil-producing nations, especially in the Middle East. I don't know if that is more beneficial for us in the long run. We are seeing prices already going up in retail markets because of Trump's tariffs. I do not anticipate that gas prices are going to stay low. But even if they do, like, I don't really give a shit. Like, yes, congratulations. I'm glad that people are going to be able to afford to get to work and shit like that, but they're not going to be able to afford rent or medicine or food or, gifts for their kids on Christmas. So we're looking at a net negative here by a fucking mile. Let's see here. Malin Base says, why hasn't Trump declassified the Epstein files? My guess is because he's all over that, but all over them. But I do not know. Because I have not seen those documents myself. Scarlett says, what party has been better for the economy? Democrats by a mile. All the data confirms that. Taco Bell Toilet Seat says, what do you think about the term woke right? I have never heard that before, and I don't even know what it would fucking mean. Talk politics. What are some things from right-leaning politics that are overall good? I don't love the idea that just because I'm somebody on the left, I have to like find good things about the right. The philosophy of right-wing politics I find to be very damaging and marginalizing and generally unproductive. Additionally, a lot of the things that they claim to be part of their platform are just like things that everybody would agree with. Like, we're against wasteful government spending, and it's like, okay, well, we are too. But we also think that we should have regulations to make sure that people's water is safe to drink and shit like that. And they're like, no, that's the wasteful government spending that we're fucking talking about. And then we're like, okay, well, we disagree on that. We think that there should be regulations. And then the Republicans say, well, that means that you're for wasteful government spending. So it's like, yeah, if you look at their platform and you see things like making America strong and financially independent and shit like that, it's like, yeah, everybody agrees with that. But we're talking about very specific things that you could do in this country. And there's also a huge difference between the Republican platform and then what they actually do, where, they say things like have a strong economy, and we're like, oh, what does that mean? And they're like cutting taxes for the rich and increasing taxes on everybody else and cutting regulations that make sure that your food is safe to eat and, firing FDA inspectors. So now we don't even fucking know how much salmonella is in the chicken that we're selling you, shit like that. Let's see here. Taco Bell Toilet Seat says the woke right refers to a faction within conservatives that adopts tactics and rhetoric typically associated with the woke left, such as identity grievance, ethnic consciousness, tribalism, but redirects them toward conservative or traditionalist ends. Taco Bell Toilet Seat, I'm going to be honest, that sounds like bullshit. Not you. I'm saying that conservatives adopting that terminology in order to like win arguments or pretend like they aren't doing things to hurt people, that sounds like bullshit to me. So yeah, I would say that the woke right is, some sort of messaging propaganda campaign by the right to make it seem like they're not psychopaths. Let's see here. Lena Alex Foreman says, do you agree with making America healthy? I agree with making America healthy, but that's not what RFK Jr. is doing. RFK Jr. is ignoring science. He is ignoring outbreaks of tuberculosis and bird flu and measles in this country. The Trump administration fired teams of people that were responsible for making sure that Ebola and Marburg virus do not come into the United States. So yeah, RFK Jr. literally went in front of the Senate and said people should not take medical advice from me. And it's like, motherfucker, that's your whole fucking job. Malin Bates says, is MAGA Scientology for the poorly educated? You know, I don't know about Scientology specifically, but I will say this. There is a statistical correlation between people who vote for Republicans and a lack of education, meaning that the less education you have, the more likely you are to vote for Republicans. That does not mean that people that vote for Republicans are more dumb or more gullible than everybody else. But maybe there are things that you learn when you get an education that make it easier to parse through conspiracy theories and propaganda. So yeah, they are literally, technically, by definition, undereducated or uneducated or less educated than people that vote on the left. But again, that doesn't mean that they're worse people or stupid people or more gullible. Let's see here. Taco Bell toilet seats. Well, then elucidate to me. A lot of the more liberal elements within the right wing are fighting with the woke right now. Yeah, you know, if I've interpreted that incorrectly, Taco Bell toilet seat, let me know what you think is like a good example of that happening that does not fit my my definition of it. Mackie says, rate genocide 1 to 10. Well, if 1 is the worst and 10 is the best, I would give it a 1. David Gregg on TV says, do you think Trump will attempt to stay in office permanently, and what will happen if he does? So one of those questions is easy to answer, and the other one is hard. Do I think Trump will attempt to stay in office permanently? Yes, 100%, without a doubt. It is his singular desire to die in office, to be elected president for life, and be able to hand the presidency down to his stupid fucking kids. Now, what will happen if he does try is an open question. We don't know what mechanism he's going to use to try. He might try to declare martial law and cancel elections. He might petition Congress and the right-wing Supreme Court to allow an exemption for him to run for a third term. We don't know. What's going to happen? Like, is he going to get away with it? Is an open question. That is entirely up to us. How much work we put in. Putting political pressure on our elected representatives, getting Democrats elected in the midterms, standing up for our institutions and not letting Donald Trump fucking shit on everybody who, disagrees with him. Like, yeah, that's what the work is. And we can't sit around and wait for other people to save us, because otherwise we're just going to be waiting on, whether fucking Alito and Thomas are going to do the right thing, which is like, that is not something that I am, confident that they will do. That guy Cliff says, making sure your food stamps don't get cut off and your government temporary assistance. Did you thin? I'm not really sure what you're getting at there, that guy Cliff. Epic Losserman says, why is ABC saying that the plane is going to Trump even after being sued? Because the plane is going to Trump, I don't really understand why you think that is an inaccurate thing to say, Epic Lobster Man. Epic Lobster Man, let's be clear about something. What Trump did in accepting that plane is illegal. If a president is going to accept a gift from a foreign nation, it needs to be approved by Congress. And also, it cannot go to him specifically. It has to go to the country. Giving it to his presidential library is, in essence, giving it to him. This is a guy who really loves to blur the line between what is mine and what is my foundations and what is my businesses. And so if you don't think that after he gets out of office, he's not going to be fucking flying around on that thing like it's his own personal Uber, then I got a fucking bridge to sell you. Suzanne M says Trump is mad because he is trying to spin it and wants all news stations to lie for him. Yeah, but that's Susan M, you're right. But that is literally what he does about every issue. It's not just the fucking plane, it's fucking everything. He doesn't give a shit that Walmart is raising prices because of his tariffs. He gives a shit that they said that they were going to raise prices because of his tariffs. If they had gone out there and said, we're going to have to raise prices because of Biden and trans kids, then Donald Trump would have been like, yeah, sorry, everybody. Maybe we should have gotten rid of Biden earlier and trans kids earlier, Zachary Tackett says, why does our Homeland Security Secretary not know what habeas corpus is? Because she is an unqualified right-wing political hack Donald Trump lackey. Let's see here. There's more liberal, classical liberals who are right-wing, but still have many liberal values, and the hardcore conservatives who are more authoritarian and racists. We'll find the future of the movement. Talk about toilet seat. I see what you're saying, but how does that equal the woke right still? Like, I understand that they're using the language of victimhood narratives, but the fact of the matter is, like, they're not victims. So, so it's a lie. It's bullshit. Epic Lobster Man says, but was it okay for the Obamas to take their gold? Epic Lobster Man, please get your news from different sources. Like, I don't know what you're doing here. Are you trying to engage, or are you trying to spread right-wing propaganda? Because the things you are saying are inaccurate. Human says, why doesn't Donald Trump know what little people are? I mean, he does. He just views us as ants. He views us as peons. We're little workers that should work ourselves to death so that him and his family can live in a fucking golden mansion in the sky. Taylor Richardson says, what do you think about what Trump is doing to the SSI? I think that it is, you know what? I was actually thinking of the SSA. Talon Richardson, sometimes I get lost in these 3-letter abbreviations. Is that the Social Security something, or is it a different thing? Let's see here. Does he not know what little people are? Human? I have not seen that on the news. Oh, the SSA. Gotcha. Woo, thank God. I thought I was an idiot, but it turns out it was just a typo. Woo, good thing. I've been confirmed smart once again. Yeah, so what the Trump administration has done is defund and fire a whole bunch of people from the Social Security Administration so that now they can't actually do the work of giving people the payments that they need. Old people are desperately trying to call somebody to get the money that they need to survive, and there's nobody to pick up the phones. And, there is a massive backlog. It's fucking disgusting. They're hurting old people. They're hurting young people. They're hurting everybody. So fuck those guys. A lot of who use the narrative aren't victims. That's part of grievance politics, which both extremes engage in to emotionally manipulate their adherents. I would disagree with that Taco Bell toilet seat because there are people who are more powerful than others. White women are marginalized. White women are less marginalized than black women. Hispanic men are marginalized, but Hispanic men are less marginalized than Hispanic women. And so if there are people on the left, and I say if, there are, who are advocating for the rights of marginalized groups and use woke language in order to communicate that seems accurate to me, as opposed to Trump saying that white refugees from South Africa are somehow being, trod against, or Christians in this nation are being trod upon, when none of that is accurate. So yeah, like, tell me where you think this both sides thing is happening, because I literally don't see it. And I literally don't, and anytime anybody ever tells me the both sides thing, I'm like, I literally have no idea what you're fucking talking about. Mandy Kidwell Parkins says, why are the presidents allowed to lie about their health? Isn't that a big no-no? I do not believe that there is any kind of legislation or policy that makes it so that presidents have to be honest about their physicals. Look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump went out there and said that he has the height and weight of a fucking football NFL linebacker. And it's like anybody with fucking eyes knows that he does not weigh that. Yeah, no doctor would look at Donald Trump and say he's even healthier than he was in his fucking first term. So yeah, if that's something that you care about, maybe vote for people who want to, make that a part of our law, that presidents have to be, accurate about that shit. Taco Bell toilet seat says, they aren't murdering white people in South Africa. No, they are not. No, they are not. Sorry, Taco Bell toilet seat, but that is a conspiracy theory that the president believes because he is an idiot. Robbie Whitelog says, current cultural, and you're not an idiot, Taco Bell toilet seat, the president's an idiot. Let's see here. Why No Time says, what do you think about the big bill? So far, the version of the big bill is exactly what we all on the left have been saying it was going to be for a long time. It is cutting taxes for the wealthy at the expense of everybody else. Everybody else's lives get harder and worse, and rich people's lives get easier, and they become even more wealthy and powerful. They are defunding every agency in government except for the Pentagon. So yeah, it fucking sucks. Those guys are terrible. Fuck those guys. We need to vote them out of existence. Let's see here. I was answering somebody else. Robbie Whitelock says, current cultural trends I feel is very representative of every group other than hetero whites. I'm not really sure what you mean by that, Robbie, but I'm open to learning more. Malin Bates says, how could a country who voted for Obama vote for an obvious con man twice? What the fuck is really going on? There are people have written entire books about that, Malin, but I'll just give you a couple things off the top of the dome. Number one, what people want is change and different because they are recognizing that the government is not working for them. They have been, they were fooled by Donald Trump saying that he was a populist. They liked what he said during the Republican primary. They believed a lot of the Russian disinformation about Hillary Clinton. So Hillary Clinton became the establishment in that election, and Donald Trump became the new, the change, the hope, the different. Now, where people are continuing to fall for Trump's bullshit, I have my own theory about that. And, I believe, and I have done a little bit of research into this. I read a book called Dark Money, which is basically all about how the billionaire class has been using all of their money to try to incept ideas into the American public that will either elect Republicans by getting people to vote for them or by just not voting at all. And so that is where I believe the second administration of Donald Trump and the Republicans doing well in 2024 came from, was basically just a massive, unprecedented, and insidious propaganda campaign by the billionaire class to either get people to vote for Republicans or to not vote at all. Ulas says, Russian disinformation about Clinton, explain. Sure. During the 2016 election, Russia was flooding social media with misinformation about Hillary Clinton. They were saying that she, had dementia, or that she was in a coma, or that she had murdered people, or, insert narrative here. And people were believing it. And this was like a brand new kind of attack that America was not prepared for. And I would argue that we're still not prepared for it. Russia had successfully created, astroturfed 2 different Facebook groups that were supposedly based in Texas, one anti-Muslim, one pro-Muslim, and got them to actually fight in real life. That happened in 2015. It was reported in 2016. So my question to all of you is, do you think they stopped? I don't, and in fact, I think that the billionaire class has continued that that project. Dennis Paco says, so about what you guys talking about in USA? Yeah, we are talking about in USA. At least I hope that's the case, and you're not outright lying because that's objectively false. It's not a genocide, though. This really isn't a proper format for these sorts of conversations, though. So you clearly haven't looked into the issue. Taco Bell toilet seats? I'll tell you what. I am extremely confident that any information about prejudice against white people in South Africa is extremely inaccurate. Please give me a specific. Tell me what you think is an example of a reason why white people should fear being the marginalized group of people in South Africa when they control 70% of the wealth. Beach Expert says, what advice would you give someone who hasn't liked a single candidate in their memory? Well, Beach Expert, I think that you need to start thinking about politics more like a bus as opposed to a car. A car, you go directly from your house to directly where you want to go. But that's not the way that politics works. In politics, you just got to find the person that is closest because there isn't going to be a perfect. We are a country of over 330 million people. We have a diverse, it's a cornucopia of political beliefs that are extremely diverse and weird, and sometimes they don't make any sense whatsoever. So it's not just people on the left and people on the right. It is all sorts of weird, extremely weird people living in all sorts of different places in this country. So I encourage people to go for the closest version. I am much more of a Katie Porter person than an Adam Schiff Porter person. But Katie Porter did not win the Senate primary, so I voted for Adam Schiff because he would have been better than the Republican alternative. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, they're great. I don't think they're perfect. They're definitely not my number one choice for president, but they were way better than the Republican alternative, so I happily, enthusiastically voted for them and advocated for everybody else to do the same. I have not heard a single cogent, substantive argument for why not voting is better than voting, where you don't feel that a politician reflects your values perfectly, and so you will let a politician who's even worse than that get elected through your inaction. Like, that just doesn't vibe for me. I'm not saying that that's what you did. I'm just, kind of like extending the argument. Daniel Murtaugh says, lame morals, bud. I disagree. There are people who are being hurt right now that would not have been hurt if Harris had been elected. There are people in Palestine who are suffering worse now. More people are suffering more in Palestine under Trump than they would have under Harris. Something else for sure says, did they keep Joe's dementia and cancer quiet? I don't know. There's the Jake Tapper book coming out about how the people of the Trump administration were covering for his declining, physical health and mental health potentially. And then someone named Naomi Biden, who I think is like his granddaughter, maybe, said that it was all bullshit. So I don't know. This will require more research. Taco Bell Toilet Seat says there is a history of farmer murders and public calls for their deaths, but the history is complicated. And as I said, this really isn't a good format for getting into the nuance of the subject. Yeah, all I can say is I'll give it a Google, but I can tell you this, that the idea that we needed to fly a bunch of white people from South Africa to here for their safety, that has been debunked. And I am confident that it has been debunked. So I'm not really sure where we disagree on that. Asif for POTUS. What are his chances? I am not here to wishcast 2028. I am trying to get everybody focused on 2026. Susan M says, clearly people close to Biden were shocked at his performance in the debate. Not hidden but new, question mark? I think it's the same thing with everybody who has like an aging person that they are close with. Like, we make a lot of mistakes. We make a lot of allowances for the people that we love and care about. So, you talk to him, he seems kind of forgetful and tired, and then you remember they just got off a plane. So you're like, he's probably just tired from his plane, blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of what people took away from their interactions with Biden in 2023 was stuff like that, which was like, yeah, it seemed okay to me, or he just got off of a long flight, so maybe it was that. If there were people in his orbit who saw a much more consistent mental health decline, then yeah, I think those people fucking suck, and they can go to hell. It was only 59 people. I don't have an issue with it. I have an issue with the coloring of the idea that a country that is still reeling from the after effects of apartheid, we're going to be focusing on the white people and their struggle. It seems kind of like bullshit to me. Taco Bell toilet seats. Dennis Paco says, well, I'm in German, so what you guys say about the tariffs against Europe and now Europe building up their military without U.S. companies? I think that the things that the Trump administration has done to make all of that happen are all dumb things that have no benefit for America or anybody else. Let's see here. Turner Boy Matt says, is abundance liberalism a threat to the progressive movement? Should we combat against it? I don't. So for anybody who doesn't know what he's talking about, Ezra Klein wrote a book called Abundance, where he makes this case that there is an issue with Democrats not being able to get things done and operating from a mentality of scarcity as opposed to one of abundance. I have not read the book. I have only heard interviews with Ezra Klein about said book. And, I don't agree with all of his things, but he does make some very interesting points about, like, why is it that, in California, the blue state California, we were not able to finish our high-speed rail project. I have a different theory as to why we were not able to finish our high-speed rail project and other projects like building houses and stuff like that. And it all goes back to billionaires being pieces of shit and gumming up the works. Like, we have all these mechanisms in California where people can voice objections to things and say, like, I'm worried about the environmental impact of that, or that's going to increase the noise around my house. So they can gum up the works by making those objections. And if you are a billionaire who makes all of your money in gas or auto sales or whatever, like, why would you not weaponize that system in order to stop high-speed rail because it would hurt your pocketbook? After reading Dark Money, I am more convinced by anything that seems like it's not working the way that it should being the fault of the billionaire class. One Love says it's got nothing to do with the politics right. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Scott123 says Trump is in serious decline and the Republicans are not taking steps to unseat him, but Biden, oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I'm less worried about Trump's, mental decline than I am the wildly illegal and corrupt and unconstitutional things that he is doing that Congress is supposed to be a check on. Like, they are the ones with the power to stop him, and they are fucking asleep at the wheel. They either don't give a shit, are on board with what he's doing, or they're too fucking scared of him to actually do their fucking job and protect this nation, protect their constituents, and uphold the Constitution. I am fucking furious with Republicans. I've been furious with them for a fucking long time. But these guys can't fucking hold enough hearings when a Democrat is in office. But as soon as Donald Trump is out there fucking accepting $400 million claims from the fucking Qatari royalty and fucking making $3 billion off of a fucking Bitcoin that literally anybody in the world could be giving him billions of dollars, completely untraceable. Like, that is your job, Congress. You should be stopping that. And that is fucking on Republicans. They have all the levers of power right now. Let's see here. Jay City says, hi, Jarrett. Why is Gavin Newsom going so far right? I believe that Gavin Newsom is trying to paint himself as much of a moderate as humanly possible so that he can be president in 2028. I am much more of a progressive than I am a centrist Democrat, so all of that makes me like him less. Whether or not it is a savvy choice is, I guess, history will decide. I've got no fucking idea. David Gregg on TV says, do you think Trump is a Russian asset? I believe that he is. We have not seen any substantive data that confirms that he is. But if he were, he would literally be doing exactly what he is currently doing. Gaz L says Gavin has destroyed California. That is inaccurate. He did some good things and did some bad things. He's been a pretty good governor. I would give him a B minus. Susan M says, I will never forgive the Republican Party. A mob boss can't do what Don the Con is doing without them. Yeah, completely agree. This is a thing that I'm trying to start. I don't know if it's got legs, but it's called It's B, which is I think it should be enough. So Republicans spent 6 months trying to illegally cancel the election of a Supreme Court justice in North Carolina. I think that should be enough to never vote for Republicans ever again. They have completely gutted USAID, the Consumer Financial Protection Board, and Social Security Administration. They are trying to cut Medicare and Medicaid right now. I think that should be enough to never vote for any Republican ever again. You got Marco Rubio out there with fucking 4 jobs in a Senate hearing right now. And Chris Murphy is like, what about all the fucking foreign nationals that are just shoveling money into Trump's pocket? Like, what are you doing about that as Secretary of State? And he's like, I haven't heard about any of this. This is my first day, man. Sorry about that. That should be enough to never vote for any Republican ever again. It's B. I don't know if it's going to catch on, but that's the acronym that I use, everybody. Let's see here. Gaz L said, you said is corrupt. Gavin is Pelosi cartel. Gaz L, you appear to be the kind of person, Gaz L, and I say this lovingly, that is so much more focused on the things that you think are going wrong in the Democratic Party that you are missing the much worse things that are going on in the Republican Party. The Democratic Party is not perfect, but it is also a big tent. And we have people who are on the center left, and we have people who are on the far left. And if you are a far left person like myself, then do the work with me of trying to get progressive Democrats winning their primaries and then also winning the general election. But if they don't win the primary, then we got to stand equally hard for the centrist Democrats because Republicans, again, are way worse. All right, La says, will Trump do irreparable damage to our country? He will not. There is no such thing as irreparable damage. If one man made it, another man can destroy it, and vice versa. It will take a lot of work, though, to undo the shit that Donald Trump is doing, potentially decades. So, yeah, it's fucked up. I was yelling and screaming about this before the election. I'm being proven right every fucking minute that we suffer under the Trump administration. And so, yeah, maybe you, 11, 111, 1011, 1111, will join me in this quest of undoing this by getting people to vote. There are 85 million people who could have voted in 2024 and didn't. 8 million who were Democratic voters specifically. Let's find all those people and get them voting for Democrats. Let's talk to our friends and our families and our neighbors and our coworkers and convince them to be part of democracy and vote and make sure that they're not being stuck in right-wing propaganda rabbit holes and believing bullshit about the Democratic Party, because in general, the Democratic Party is better than people give it credit for, and the Republican Party is worse than people give it credit for. Democrats never get any credit for the good things they do. Republicans never get any blame for the bad things that they do. I have 1,000 examples of all this. Call me on it if you need. Let's see here. Taco Bell toilet seat says it's practically meaningless outside of its use as political fodder. Yeah, but I mean, that's what our president is doing with his time. He is saying that these people are refugees because they are white, and these people are not refugees because they're brown. You know, and so I think that's important to call out. This is where the left fucks up and loses people. I say that as a non-white. You can focus on white people too. Yeah, you know, I don't have any problem with somebody like Scott Galloway going out there and talking about the male loneliness epidemic and how that is a problem that needs to be solved. I'm also not one of those people that is like, you shouldn't be talking about that because black people have it worse. I think we can talk about all of the problems without judging which ones are bad or worse. That is the reason why I believe in Black Lives Matter and not one of those guys that says, hey, all lives matter. You know, you can give money to cancer research without going, AIDS is a disease also, you know? So yeah, I'm also very much not on board with any "this is why the left loses" arguments that have to do with, you know, progressives talking about people who are marginalized. Let's see here. One question: are you pro-Israel or pro-Palestine? I am pro the citizens of both of those countries, and I am against the governing bodies of both of those countries. The governing bodies of both of those countries have done war crimes against their respective enemies, and the American government is continuing to send money and weapons to Israel, despite the fact that their Netanyahu government has been found guilty of doing war crimes. We should stop doing that entirely, and I hope and pray that the people of Palestine and Israel will fucking get it together and elect better people. Let's see here. Talk about toilet seat. I didn't even read your comment before I proved you wrong. So yeah, maybe we don't know everything that we know that we think that we know about the left. Talk about toilet suit. All right. Turner boy Matt says Jon Stewart 2028. I think he's progressive. Yeah, I like Jon Stewart a lot. You know, if he wants to run, let the primary figure it out, my man. Also, I don't wish cast for 2028. I'm trying to get people focused on 2026. Midterms, everybody. Midterms. Suzanne M says male loneliness epidemic. Isn't this males who won't evolve and still want a servant wife? Susan M, I am with you. The people who are perpetuating the manosphere, your Andrew Tateses, your Charlie Kirkses, your Joe Roganses, I believe that those people are doing real damage to men by selling them a false solution to their loneliness. The fact of the matter is, though, that the systems that we have created in this country have given men a conflicting ideas about what they should be doing. They are hearing a bunch of different things, and you know, the consequence of moving everything to the internet has we've been letting men down, you know, and I don't think that that is not a problem. I don't think that that is, you know, squarely on the shoulders of the men who are affected by it, the same way that I don't think that, you know, people in poverty, it is their fault. You know, I'm not here to say which problem is bigger or worse, but, you know, it is bad when men are, you know, unemployed and have nothing to do but become radicalized. So yeah, you know, I would check out Scott Galloway's shit about this because he has he speaks about it much more eloquently than I did just now. I think he makes some really excellent points. And this is not to say that that is the only problem that we should be focusing on, but it is a problem. And there are a lot of really good men who are getting swept up into this fucking red pill, extreme right-wing version of toxic masculinity because they are being told that that is the answer. Because they are being told that feminism is the reason why they are lonely. And you know, but also, like, you know, I say this as a guy who did not know how to talk to women when I was growing up. That, you know, it really does something to your noodle when you see guys doing well with women and you just can't fucking figure it out, you know? and it's not the biggest problem in the world. It really isn't. I'm getting sad thinking about me when I was younger, seeing men pick up women in bars, and I just I fucking can't do this, like, god damn. And it is only because I suffer from depression that I directed my hate inward instead of towards women, like I never viewed that as like, man, this means that women are fucking shallow slut whores. I was always like, well, this means that I fucking suck, and I should just fucking go die. But yeah, I have a lot of empathy for men who are in that space because I remember what it felt like, and I was able to get out of it. And it wasn't easy, but I was able to have a great and very fulfilling dating life before I met my wife, who was lovely and amazing. So yeah, sorry we talked too much about the male loneliness epidemic, everybody. Let's see here. Dr. Bob Fanboy says, elaborate on or argue against healthcare, food, housing, education being a right and should be free. I mean, I believe that healthcare, food, housing, education should 100%. I don't know if everything needs to be free, but I definitely think that humans deserve a minimal standard of living. Nobody should be living on the street or starving or not being able to get necessary medical care because they can't afford it. The economy is a system that we have created, and it is not working. We need to adjust. I don't know if anybody's ever played like an online video game, and you're playing against other people and you're fighting. There's that new Marvel game where Wolverine can fight Spider-Man and shit like that. And the developers of that game look at the stats and they see like, oh shit, anytime somebody plays Spider-Man, that team wins like 90% of the time. Maybe Spider-Man's too powerful, and they make adjustments. And they go, oh shit, look at this. Anytime somebody plays the Scarlet Witch, that team loses 90% of the time. So maybe we need to make her a little bit more powerful. Our economy is like that. It needs to be adjusted because there are lots and lots of people who either can't afford shit that they need and are living on the street, or people who are slowly going poor and just barely making it every single month to the end of that month. And at the same time, there are people who have fucking private jets that they're using to commute between their fucking 10 mega mansions when they're not taking a fucking helicopter to their golden giant fucking yacht on the ocean and shit like that. That is bad. And I'm talking about this like the billionaire class is not a group of people that just like, oh man, we played the game and we got billions of dollars. We didn't know that we were hurting people. Maybe there are some who are like that, but most of them know exactly what they're fucking doing. Again, read Dark Money, guys. I didn't mention Dark Money at all yesterday, so now I got to say it 1,000 times. But yeah, a lot of people in the billionaire class, they know exactly what they're fucking doing. They don't give a shit that they are fucking killing us and giving our kids cancer so they can get one fucking penny richer. It's fucking disgusting. And we need to take their money away from them because otherwise they will use it to kill us. Period. All right. Carbine, good to see you again. Mandy Kidwell Parkin says, host is absolutely correct, but this is common sense stuff, and I feel like America don't have it. America doesn't have common sense because billionaires have fucking propagandized them into not having common sense. They have convinced Republicans to defund education to make people more susceptible to misinformation and propaganda. They have convinced people to vote for Republicans so that Republicans can continue doing that work of cutting billionaires' taxes and cutting their regulations. And the more fucks that we all get, the more that we all struggle to survive and are desperate, the easier their job is of convincing us of things that are not accurate. Alrighty. K Gaff CZR says Trump 2028. That is not a question, so you are out of here. I don't care if you have different opinions than me, but actually ask a question. Alrighty, let's see here. Let's see here. Dennis Paco says he haven't found guilty. He only is suspect. AKK must get to court and then decide if he doing war crimes or not. I believe that's inaccurate. The International Criminal Court has found that the Netanyahu government is guilty of war crimes, and I believe that is the reason why they have an arrest warrant out for him. So yes, I do not believe that is accurate. Taco Bell Toilet Seat says it's not simply the left talking about marginalized people. That's not it at all, and you know it. I don't know it. Taco Bell Toilet Seat, please elucidate. The left makes a lot of people feel excluded via their language and actions. You can agree or disagree with the sentiment that's being created, but it exists regardless. It's also manifesting into something very dangerous on the right as a result. So I have a problem with that Taco Bell toilet seat, and I'll tell you why. So let's say that I am a billionaire and I want to make people turned off from the left, from left-wing politicians and from the culture of the left. And I discover from some ancient text that when people on the left go on the internet and they say shit that is like, that is saying you're not pure enough to be part of our club, for example. Like, oh shit, you made a joke about fat women in 2002. You're not pure. You're gross. You can't be a liberal. Get out of here. I've discovered that when liberals do that, it really pushes people away from the left and gets them to vote for more Republicans. So what I'm going to do with all my billions is I'm going to pay people to pretend to be leftists and create this atmosphere of purity politics and constantly tell people that you're not pure enough, you're not good enough. I'm going to keep on pushing the bar about what a good Democrat is and what a good liberal is, and I'm going to pay them to fight people, and they're going to fight people on the right, and then I'm going to pay other people to be on the right and fight the people on the left. And I'm going to convince everybody that their enemy is the other group of voters, and then they won't realize that their real enemy is fucking me. Are there people on the left who really believe this stuff? Are there people on the internet who really believe that you have to be 1000% pure to be a good Democrat? Absolutely. But I do not believe that it is organic, all of it. I believe that some of these people are being paid. I believe some of these people were convinced by other propaganda and are just useful idiots in this situation. Again, I will refer you to the thing that happened in 2015 where a Russian bot farm, Republican-Russian, like what's the fucking difference, right, guys? A Russian bot farm created 2 Texas-based Facebook groups and got very real people to very real fight in very real life. I don't think that Russia is the only bad faith actor doing that. And I don't think that they stopped doing that in 2016. So when people tell me about the rhetoric on the left is pushing them to the right or whatever, I'm like, those aren't real people. I don't know. I am a progressive. I mix with a lot of people on the left, and nobody that I know has that attitude. Nobody that I know is that purity politics person. So what, do they only exist on the internet? There are a lot of internet leftists who are all out here talking about fucking Palestine and Gaza and how people should not vote because that'll teach a lesson to the Democratic Party. And now Trump is elected. The people in Palestine are fucked even harder than they were during the Biden administration. And where are all those leftists now? I do not believe that they were real people. I believe that many of them were being paid to put out that information. They were being paid to convince Democrats to not vote because it would help the Republican Party. I see this fucking bullshit propaganda narratives pop up all the fucking time, and it is insidious. You will see somebody who is supposedly a left-wing creator saying things like, why are the Democrats doing this? Why are the Democrats doing that? And I'm like, dude, you should know better. You should know that that's not true. You should know that what you're saying is bullshit. Is it the fact maybe you're getting paid to put this information out there because people with a lot of money are incentivized to take down the Democratic Party? That seems like a much more likely scenario to me than the fact that every progressive that I've ever fucking talked to has never said anything like that in my life. And I canvass. So I'm meeting new people fucking constantly, my man. Anyways, that's a little bit more tin hat conspiracy theory part of it. But yeah, I just think that we have to recognize that the internet is lying to us. That if the reason why you think the left is X, Y, or Z is just because of, nameless, faceless internet people who are telling you that that is what the left is, that's not actually the case. Find a real person and see what they think, because I'm out here with my real ass fucking face and my real ass fucking name. You can see me do stand up in real life if you like. These are my actual beliefs and opinions. But fucking Bernie Stan 86 on Threads, that person is not real. Assume they're not. I don't see where the downside of assuming that they're not real is. All right, everybody, I got to start wrapping up soon. I got a lunch date. I'll do a couple of final questions, but I am going to start wrapping things up. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for all the gifts and the follows and the likes and the shares. I appreciate all of the the comments and all the support that you guys give me. I'm really glad that you guys were here also on Twitch, Dennis and Taco Bell and Gold Earth 44. I don't need to be here just talking to people that agree with me. I'm just here talking about politics and answering people's questions and shit like that. You can support me any way that you like. I got a Patreon. I got a store you can buy things from. You can send gifts and subscribe and all that good shit, but you don't gotta. I understand that we're living in a cost of living crisis that is being made worse by the Republican Party every second that they are fucking in power. If you have any questions that I was not able to get to, or you want to get more into shit that we were not able to fully cover, Taco Bell toilet seat, Dennis, I'm talking to you guys. My DMs are open. You can also email me through my website, jarrettberenstein.com. jarrettberenstein.com is where you can find my live tour dates. You can find my streaming schedule. You can find my Patreon, my store, and all sorts of great shit that I have done in my career. And lastly, if you are somebody like me and you see what's going on and you want to help, you want to be productive, be part of the solution. Join me in doing the work. We got to convince people to vote for Democrats. We got to convince people to vote for our voters. We got to talk to our friends, our neighbors, our coworkers, our people that love us and know us, and make sure that they are not believing fake news. Make sure that they are not part of the right-wing information sphere that is lying to them and telling them to either not vote or only vote for Republicans. If you want more information on how to do the work, join my Discord. I got some threads up there about that shit. I got great recommendations for podcasts and books and all that crap. This is the work, guys. This is what I am here for. This is not about clout or getting likes and follows. This is about if I had one fucking follower, but that one follower went out and fucking spread like a virus across this country, and then we just got better fucking politicians, I would be happy as a fucking clam, man. So yeah, join the Discord, be part of the conversation, hit me up if you got any questions, but most of all, do the work. Don't be cynical. Those motherfuckers want you to believe that it's game over, that there's no fucking hope for a better future. We don't have to fucking live like this, guys. And hope is part of the resistance. Self-care is part of the resistance. These guys are telling you resistance is fucking futile. You'd say, eat my fucking butt, you weird-ass fucking dork. All right, let's see here. Goldie Earth 44 says, why is communism a contradiction? I do not believe that it is a contradiction. Taco Bell Toilet Seat says it could be the dead internet. Yeah, it 100%. And it's getting worse with AI now that AI is a fucking thing. You could be AI, as far as I know, Taco Bell. All right, let's get into some of these TikTok comments. Dr. Bob Fanboy says, what's the name of that book you were always talking about? Dark Money and The Persuaders. They're two different books. One is by a woman named Jane Mayer. One is by a guy named Anand, whose last name I have a really hard time pronouncing. I am going to try. I've been hyping up this book, The Persuaders, for a long time. I'm going to figure out how to fucking pronounce that guy's last name, so when I come on here, I can actually tell you guys what his fucking name is. Alrighty. But yeah, The Persuaders is excellent, and Dark Money. Dark Money is all about how the billionaire class has been, astroturfing the libertarian movement to try to, so that they can just get tax cuts and be able to fucking poison us with their industrial runoff from their factories. And The Persuaders is about action. It's about the work. It's about convincing people to vote for better politicians, getting people out of their bubbles, etc. Mandy Kidwell says, do you foresee in our lifetime corporations not being allowed to put money into our politics? Yeah, if we do the work and if we elect politicians who are incentivized to stop that. Scarlett says, why do conservatives support tariffs? It seems like a direct attack on the free market. So modern day conservatives are different than older conservatives, Scarlett. Older conservatives were much more free market philosophy. Current conservatives are much more fascist adjacent. They believe in isolating America, both economically and politically. That is part of the the work of the fascist workbook, is isolate, demagogue, attack the press, attack higher education, blame problems on marginalized groups. It's all part of the same stew. So yeah, they believe in tariffs because Trump said that tariffs are good, and whatever Trump says is great. That is fascism. That's that shit. And the reason why Trump likes tariffs is because it allows people to bribe him, where he can put tariffs on all these different products and shit like that. And then companies have to go to him and say, if I give you $5 million, will you exempt me from the tariffs, please? And he'll go, you got it. That's the deal I was holding out for. Art of the deal, baby. Hannah says, who is your favorite politician in office right now and why? I don't really have a favorite. I don't really believe in uh, lionizing politicians. Like, I think that there are ones that are good and great, and I really like Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Maxwell Frost, and I think Pete Buttigieg is a great communicator, even though he's a little more centrist than I am. I think Biden did a really great job in his administration, but he's much more centrist, and I also think that he should 100% not have run a second time. So yeah, these people, they're all just real people who make mistakes. I love Katie Porter. She's all right. She's the one exception. I'll tell you, I fucking love Katie Porter. I'll be full-throated endorsement for Katie Porter. But yeah, a lot of them are great. They're just varying levels of good, I would say. Let's see. Carmine, that dog that was mayor for a bit was pretty chill. Excellent comment to end on. All right, everybody, thank you for being here. Have an excellent rest of your Tuesday. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Actually, no, I'll be on my regular time. I came on early today because I have a lunch date. So yeah, check me out tomorrow. Regular streaming schedule, Monday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. ish Pacific time. And yeah, just do the work. Don't be cynical. Take care of yourselves, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye.